Nick speaking, and welcome to this live stream. And if you're new to the channel and you want to learn about Necrons and more, then please subscribe and hit the bell button to turn on all notifications so you don't miss an upload. Good evening, everyone, or at least it's evening for me. I hope you're all very well. So yes, obviously we had some new Necrons released yesterday. I was away in London yesterday, so I wasn't able to make any videos or anything. So that's why I'm doing this live stream today, primarily to have a look at all of the new reveals. So I've got the chat room open in a separate laptop because I can't see it very well on my phone. So let's have a look, see who's in the house. We have Vardonis. He says, hello, Nick. Hello, Vardonis. You also have King Cruanmizone. Forgive me for mispronouncing any names. Nick Bell, good evening. William Norris is in the house. We have Bill Fox. Hello, Bill. Nick Main is also in the house. I hope everyone is doing very well. It has been a very exciting weekend, and I've been, as I said, away in London, so I've been catching what I can. I did manage to watch the live stream this morning, catch up of it, and yeah, wow, it's so awesome. However, I'm going to have a quick chat about hobby first. So as you've probably seen, I've been putting up quite a few conversion videos for the Indomitus box set, and I've actually converted all of the miniatures now. All the videos are scheduled in, ready to go, and I'm using this space of not having to make videos because they're already done to paint. So I've been painting my Indomitus miniatures, that's 2 sets, and I'm batch painting them all in one go. And I'm making a vlog, a vlog, it's not called vlog, is it? I'm making a vlog of my progress. So hopefully that'll be quite an interesting video when it's done. But yeah, I might show you some miniatures. If you want to see some, let me know in the chat. Let's have a quick look. Phil Whiffen says, hey Nick, hope you're well. I am very well, thank you. Very well indeed. Space Marines are getting outshone by Necrons. We are Games Workshop's favourite now. Wahahaha. Quite possibly, Jambo. Although Space Marines did get quite a lot as well, didn't they? I'd love to see some minis. Okay, we have a vote for that. So yeah, let's have a look. I'll show you an exciting one first. Work in progress, of course, but we have the work on my Scorpec Lord. The light isn't amazing, but I'm doing my usual gold at the top and silver at the bottom, which is what I do for all of my HQs that have sort of destroyer type bodies. So yeah, that's him. He's looking pretty cool. And I'll show you another character, my Plasmancer. Again, gold on the top. But yeah, coming along, just base coating at the moment. I refuse to play against Space Marines. Do you? I will also show you this because I'm at the same time painting, at long last, Illuminor, or at least some of it. I had to paint in sub-assembly for this thing because there's so much detail and so many hard to get to bits. But I'm painting him in my usual Dynasty, the nameless Dynasty, because I don't have a name for my Dynasty colours. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun painting them. Let's have a look. Just show you the one more thing. Reanimator, or part of it, again painting in sub-assembly. I'm thinking of doing a white face for him, just to add an extra colour in there. Okay, let's have a quick look at the chat. Space Marines are stupid strong. Oh, so it's supposed to be strong. We have Nirvana Productions in the house. Do you know anything about the Pyromancer, or whatever the name was? Is it a Necron Psycho? We don't know all the details. We're going to have a look at the previews and have a chat about them. Nearly finished my Indomitus painting. Still need to make some base. and the Plasmancer. Yeah, I've been working on some of my bases as well, some crystals and rocks. Sweet, your HQ looks super duper epic nice, and the models you do so far. Thank you very much. We've got Blue Demonica in the house. Hello, how are you? She says, with love from the USA. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to grab one of these because this is my very old Necron Destroyer Lord conversion on a Wraith body because, wow, all those years ago I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a Wraith Destroyer body so I can use him with my Wraith units? Yeah, interesting. Today's, yesterday's, I thought it was today, but it's yesterday's previews. So I've got my usual camera set up. Let's make sure it works. So I can do hopefully this, yes. And we have me in the corner. Hello. And of course, the preview. So should we have a quick look at the preview? Kevin Fogg is from Denmark. Hello there. I'm painting my Overlord right now. Awesome. Excellent. I have extra resin Lord lying around. I may have to make one. Do it. It's very cool. It looks awesome on the table. Okay, so welcome your new Necron Overlords. It's the wrong page. The Codex shows. Here we go. The right page. Can we talk about Call being funny as all get out? Hello, my friend. Just came in to hit the like button. Thank you very much. Now I can go to sleep finally. Yes, I know the time doesn't suit everyone, unfortunately. Okay, here we go then. The Codex show. I would love to have gone live and actually done the show itself live, but unfortunately I wasn't able to, like I said. So let's start here then, 2 p.m. Codex Necrons. Here's a codex worth waiting 60 million years in a tomb for. One of the first codexes to hit the shelves, Codex Necrons. And for the lore alone, it will be an unmissable read for every Warhammer 40k fan. In other words, buy this codex even if you don't collect Necrons. With even more brand new units on the way, and an army-wide rules overhaul, which is the most interesting bit and best bit about it. It is an army-wide rules overhaul. So no copy and paste. We're getting a whole new revamp, which is exactly what we needed. This book will also be a literal game changer for the Necrons on the battlefield. Good to hear. Okay, let's have a quick look at the little advert.
Tell me, immortal, have they left yet?
So first thing, tell me, immortal, isn't that a warrior?
No, sorry, my lord. They're back, and this time, their tanks float. Fine. Fetch the destroyers.
I think that is so funny. I think well done Games Workshop for that, because just bringing humour into their videos a lot lately, I think is good, because I think it just sets the tone for people to say, hey, this is just a game. This is for fun. So they're having fun with it. And hopefully that message gets across, you know. Whilst you can take the game seriously, it is just a game. So, yeah. And then, of course, we see new stuff. Necrons just got scarier. I have to be honest, that was a major surprise to see those new miniatures there. Let's just turn the camera around. I was not expecting that, to be fair. I thought that we would maybe get some Space Marine miniatures, but I wasn't expecting any Necron miniatures at all. I thought it was just going to be sort of glimpses into the Codex, maybe a few rules. Definitely was not expecting more miniatures. But what about you? Were you expecting more miniatures? Let me know. I can feel my wallet's getting lighter watching this. Absolutely. Let me know. Were you expecting more miniatures? No, I wasn't, says Craig. Craig Hoyland. Space Marines are pretty cool. No. New Flayed ones, yes. I'm so excited for the new Flayed ones. Yeah, we've got the Flayed ones pictured there. But no, so definitely not. So most people was not expecting anything. And I must admit, I wasn't. So that was a big surprise. And like I said, I was at London when this came out. And I sort of quickly had a look on there, thinking, yeah, there's not going to be anything there that I need to make a video about. And then it's like, what? What are those? What's that? So yeah, it's quite fun. Right, the Codex. So just going to reflect quickly on this picture. I know we've seen it before, but I'd just like to say that I really like this picture. I think good job, Games Workshop, selecting this picture, and it looks a lot better than that really old 6th edition one, 5th edition. Didn't like that at all, but I like this, so that's good. Then we've got a little paragraph or two on the lore, basically talking about the Silent King returning, and he's bringing his new Zerakan Dynasty, and obviously there's going to be lots of lore in the Codex. And then we've got an awesome artwork picture, which I'm really loving all of the new artwork. I think it looks fantastic, and that's why I've got the other page open. Welcome to your new overlords. Again, depicting some very cool new artwork. I'm really looking forward to actually seeing all of the artwork together in the Codex, because it does look really awesome. I like the style that they've done it, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Looks very, very cool. And of course, this picture here, which was featured in the Overlords one, they talked about this picture quite a lot in the stream. But yeah, it does look very cool. Trying to work out what this is here. Whenever I see a picture like this, it's like, will this be a model? Will that be a model? And so you start imagining these as models, but obviously it is just artwork. Okay, so I think we go on to some rules. Next, let's have a quick look in the chat before we talk about the rules. What did I miss? The internet went down. You'll have to rewatch it, Richard. Do you think Necrons are now a melee army? I think they've obviously introduced the melee side of it, because Necrons are already pretty good at shooting, so they've obviously introduced. Oh, you couldn't see any of that, could you? I just realised all that. Okay, let me just go back. Massive error. Right. Okay, so we looked at this picture, and then we looked at the pictures from the article about the Overlords, and I was saying how fantastic the artwork was. So sorry about that, wrong camera angle. So yeah, I do think that I suppose if they're going to add something to Necrons, and melee was like the big gap, because we're already pretty good at shooting. Yo, totally late to the party, no problem. Okay, right, so let's have a quick look at the Zerakan rules. Uncanny artificers. If I mispronounce anything on here, then forgive me, because it's probably going to happen. So this is basically the Dynasty special rules for the Silent King's Dynasty. Each time a model with this code would lose a wound as the result of a mortal wound, roll 1d6 on a 5+, that wound is not lost. So basically a 5+ save against mortal wounds, which I think is very good as long as you're playing an army that does a lot of mortal wounds. Probably, maybe in the competitive scene, you might see that quite often. But obviously, you may end up in the circumstances where you play your buddies quite a lot, and they have the same armies, and maybe they don't do that many mortal wounds. That probably isn't going to be that useful. But we've got other things, and as far as I'm aware, we have all three of these things. We don't just have one of them. I believe the new Dynasty codes have all of them, unless you know anything different. If you do, let me know in the chat. But the second thing is, each time a unit with this code is selected to shoot or fight, you can re-roll one wound roll when making that unit's attack. So re-roll one wound for that unit. I mean, it's not amazing, but it could be useful, and it's certainly, well, it's useful. I don't think it's amazing, but you know, it could help in certain circumstances. The third one, obviously, is this new, what are they calling it? Can't remember what they're calling it, but oh yeah, protocols. So when the protocol of the Undying Legions becomes active for your army, if every unit in your army, excluding dynastic agents, which I assume is the new Clint Eastwood model, the Hex thing, or Catan Shard, has that code, you can select both that command protocol directives instead of just one. That's it, command protocols. So that could be quite interesting. So you can have both of the protocols for that particular Undying Legion. So that could be quite useful, but we don't actually know what that protocol is in this particular reveal. But yeah, what do you think of this particular Dynasty code so far? Let's have a look. I'm betting dynastic agents are triarchs. Yeah, it could be. It is super good. It's useful when you roll a d6 for the amount of wounds. Yeah, I don't think you can re-roll the d6 though, can you? Oh, you mean as in d6 wounds, sorry. Re-roll one wound roll. Yeah, could be very useful for that. Got to see the rest of them. Underpowered. Seems like a code is great for vehicles. I'm thinking if you're up against an army like Thousand Suns, I mean, Richard has a very powerful mortal wound Thousand Suns army. I think he was talking about he could do 45 mortal wounds on turn one. It could be very useful for that. Okay, let's have a quick look and see what else we've got. Richard confirms, yep. It would be better than just having scarabs, just taking scarabs to soak up the mortal wounds, especially now scarabs are what, 15 points each. It's really good. It sounds useful. It does sound useful, but then imagine that you've got this code and you play an army that doesn't do mortal wounds or only has a couple of mortal wounds. Then all you're really getting is that re-roll one dice when you're shooting or in close combat. Okay, so let's continue. But what's all this talk of command protocols? Well, consider it one of the perks of biotransference, which enables Necrons of high status to impose their will upon those who serve them. It may sound harsh, but don't worry, for you, this is definitely a good thing. Here's how it works. If your army of Necrons all hail from the same dynasty and is led by a character with the noble keyword, just want to touch upon that. I love this for this, basically giving you a bonus for having a single dynasty, which I'm a huge fan of that. I've never been a fan of allies and having like mixed dynasties and mixed factions. I think trying to push you into one dynasty is fantastic. I'm very pleased to see that. and a character with a noble keyword. So at the moment, we only know of I think the Overlord is the only one that has the noble keyword. So as long as you've got the same dynasty and the character with the noble keyword is leading the dynasty, then at the start of the game, you can secretly assign one of 6 command protocols to utilize during each battle round. After revealing your selected command protocols, you'll need to choose which directive you will activate. Any of your units within 6 inches of your characters will then benefit from the directive. So I'm assuming you can be 6 inches of any character, not necessarily one with a noble keyword. I think you just have to have the noble keyword in there to get the ability, I believe. That's how it sounds to me anyway. With careful strategy and forethought, command protocols can really throw off your opponents while giving you massive advantages. So obviously this is very similar to the Space Marines one, but we do have 2 directives and we can choose which one we want. And then obviously in the Silent Kings dynasty, for that particular protocol, you're able to choose both of them. You can use them both, but we don't know what that protocol is that you can use twice. But we do have one of the protocols here, so we'll have a look at those. Let's have a quick look in the chats. Useful, highly useful against snipers or assassins. The protocol command is for Sotek. Isn't the protocol command for anyone, basically, any of the dynasties, as long as you've got the same dynasty and you've got a character with the noble keyword? Okay, let's have a look at this one then, Conquering Tyrant. So directive 1 is add 3 inches to the range of this unit's aura ability. Get me back on the screen. Hello. To a maximum of 12 inches, and increase the range of the following abilities this unit has by 3 inches to a maximum of 12 inches. So Lord's Will, My Will Be Done, Rites of Reanimation. So I think that's great. I mean, extending the range is fantastic. Obviously, you do need to be slightly careful in that if you maneuver so that you can use this directive, you have to bear in mind that when the next turn comes, you'll be out of range. So you have to be a little bit careful with that, but it could be useful if you're out of range to then obviously use it. But of course, you've got to pick and choose when you use these directives. So we're going to need to see all 6 of them and then work out the order that we want to take them, either for the list building that we've done or for the opponents that we're playing, which brings me on to directive 2 for this one. This unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it fell back, but if it does, then until the end of the turn, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, subtract 1 from the attack's hits roll. So basically, you can fall back and shoot, although you'll be -1. That could be a very useful directive, and probably this is something you're going to be using, well, depending on your opponent's army, but either turn 1 or 2. If they've got a lot of deep strikers coming in, you could potentially hold it back till turn 2. Then your opponent will have a choice of either not coming in turn 2, maybe waiting another turn, could keep them at bay for quite some time. Or if they come down and they do manage to assault you, then at least you've got more options to fall back and shoot. Obviously, couple that maybe with the Royal Warden on the table as well. Could be pretty useful. And if they're all like this, or 6 of them, then yeah, I'm quite liking it. The only thing that I don't like about it is we've got a lot more now to remember, a lot more to do in each phase, and I think we're going to have to write down exactly what we want to do, what the plan is at first, because it's going to be quite tricky getting to grips with all the rules, when they need to be played and how you're going to play them. So obviously that's how they bring flavour into the armies, is to give you lots of rules to play with. So it's good, but yeah, it's going to take a while to get used to all the new rules. A cheat sheet, yeah, exactly. I'm going to play my first game of 9th of my Necrons this Friday. Wish me luck, I guess. You won't need luck if you're playing Necrons. Yes. It kind of reminds me of the Fire Slayers rule. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I agree. That's what I do. Everything on paper as it is now. Yeah. The king of the Necron stats seems where go. Okay, let's have a quick read a little bit more then. It's quite interesting, the format that they gave you. They showed you all the models, but they went straight into the rules. The mysterious Crypteks are about to bring another string to your tachyon bow. Okay, so a tachyon arrow doesn't need a bow to fire, but you catch our drift. In fact, they're about to bring 4 strings. There are now 4 fully fledged varieties of Crypteks, divided according to their technological specializations, and each benefit from their own datasheet, replete with a plethora of thematic rules. The Plasmancer that made its debut in Odomatus was just the start. Now, obviously, the big question here is, will we get the Royal Court back? Because we've got so many Crypteks at the moment. Do you think the Royal Courts will come back? If you don't know what the Royal Court was, it was one of the introductions that they gave us at the end of, I think it was the end of 5th edition, early 6th edition, where we had a Cryptek that could take different types of war gear, and then you could have them in a court. So effectively you could take 5 Crypteks, for example, and it was just 1 HQ slot, and then you could divide them out. Potentially we might need that because there are a lot of HQs now. I think they said in the stream all of his weapons give him some strength, so he has a base. Okay, I hope so. With so many HQs now, I think there's a very good chance of getting the Royal Court. I don't think we'll get the Royal Court because they will have a common rule for all Crypteks. If we don't get a Royal Court, it's going to be very difficult to work out which HQs to take, and potentially a lot of these very cool new HQs may not get a look in, because you're going to want your Overlord for your My Will Be Done. You're going to want a Cryptek, and I'm sure there's going to be one standout Cryptek. Will you be able to squeeze in a Royal Warden? I mean, it's how many HQs can you get for your points when you need points for all the other stuff? I mean, I think the maximum HQs I've taken is 3. I don't think I've ever taken more than 3, but usually it's only 2. How many HQs do you normally take? Let me know in the comments. You could put murder buckets down around the Silent King? Question mark. I think murder buckets aren't the only for Crypteks. Let's have a look. Hello, Jubilant Jackrabbit. How are you? Maximum of 4. I'm hoping, I know we've done that one. They might not take up a slot, like with the Sisters of Battle Priests. Well, that would be cool. I try to take as many HQs as possible. I find sometimes if you take too many HQs for too many, the thing is with the HQs is they obviously help buff certain things. When that certain thing is dead, then they're left stranded. So I find if you take too many HQs and your units are too thin on the ground, you end up sort of almost wasting your HQs. 4 HQs max. I usually take a single HQ because I'm weird. Okay, let's continue to read. Furthermore, they can be given an item of cryptic arcana for a nominal cost in power or points, representing the wondrously esoteric techno-magic of the ancient Necron Empire. See, this is why I record my videos, so I can just keep saying it until I get it right. Not only can these items be very handy in a tight spot, but they offer a versatile way to top up or round out your army list. It's quite interesting about what they mean by that. I think what they're saying is, because I don't know about you, but when you're writing a list for Necrons, it can be very hard to get to the certain points level. So if you're playing 2,000 points, I mean, I might end up with like 1,990, and I'm sort of 9 points left. It's like, what can I spend 9 points on? There's nothing to spend it on. So maybe that's what they mean. You know, if you've got a couple of points left over, you can spend it on these here. As a master of temporal manipulation, a Chronomancer, for example, can be equipped with a means to slow your enemy to a crawl at a crucial moment, but more on them later. Okay. Can they bodyguard them? If they're Cryptek, you can put the murder buckets by them. So we've got a new rule for counter-temporal nanomines. Chronomancer model only. In the shooting phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer until the start of your next turn. Half advance rolls and charge rolls made for that unit. That is awesome. I'm loving that. Very, very cool. And obviously, I think there's going to be more options, so we don't just get that on him. There's going to be other stuff. But I'm liking that. I am liking that. Richard, do you like that rule? Let me know. My Blood Angels buddy is not going to like that. He already rolls double ones when he assaults. Necrons on Crusade. Now, I know a lot of people are very excited about Crusade. I have to be honest, I'm not a huge fan. I don't know what it is. I think it's time, literally. I don't really have enough time to worry about all of the special rules and the ins and outs of how it all works. I just like the match play, basically. So I'm not really into the Crusade, which probably isn't going to go down that well. I know a lot of people like it, but I just don't think it's for me. Crusade, it's like a campaign, effectively, where you play a game, and then at the end of the game you get sort of points, and then you can buy upgrades for your particular units and stuff. Maybe one day, maybe Richard and I might do a little campaign over like 3 or 4 games or something, but we'll have to see. I'm certainly not going to be into it for now. So they give you a campaign rule which looks complicated. No, it doesn't. Basically, you can upgrade a character to a destroyer character for free. Well, not for free, but with a certain amount of points that you get in the Crusade, and it's to represent that he's changed himself into a destroyer just for war. Okay, so yeah, I'm not particularly interested in that personally. Okay, so now we come on to the big boy. We mentioned the Silent King earlier, and unless you've been slumbering in a tomb world for countless eons, you'll no doubt have seen the jaw-dropping model Zarek that's coming soon. And there is another awesome picture of him. This one seems to be lit slightly differently than the others. All the other pictures were all quite dark. This one was quite bright, so it's quite interesting to see it in a different light. And yeah, it looks very cool. I'm loving it. Can't wait to get it. It's very exciting, this miniature. Soon? How soon? We don't know, but I'm assuming that he's going to be in the Codex. So one would assume that he's going to come out with the Codex, because I think Games Workshop's rules for themselves are that they can't have a data card without the model. So I assume it's coming out at the same time. And if that means that all the new models are coming out at the same time, then we need to save lots of money. The date for the Codex, we don't know the date, but we know it is in October. Could be the beginning, could be the end. We don't actually know. Games Workshop said the models are being released shortly after. They said that, didn't they, about the Clint Eastwood one, the Hex one? But these, I don't know. How long until someone makes an Elvis conversion of the Silent King, I wonder? Okay, so yeah, that's the miniature, and of course we've got some rules. So let's quickly read what it says. You've probably been chomping at the bit to find out what he's actually like on the battlefield, and we can't blame you. Well, suffice to say, he is utterly terrifying. But then, he is the leader of the entire Necron race, is accompanied by 2 other Pharaons, completing the Triarch, and has the limitless power of a bound Catan, the enchained. Oh, there we go. So the Catan is the enchained Catan. Did we know that before? I don't think we did we? At his disposal. So that's fair enough, really. However, we will treat you to a few highlights. Now, in the stream, they said that he's got a whole page full of rules, a little bit like the Nightbringer did back in 3rd edition. A whole page, so many rules. And some of these stats will be buffed, particularly the strength. So let's have a quick look. So Zarek with 9 or more wounds remaining, 8-inch movements, which isn't a surprise. I was actually expecting 8 inches. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 2, which again isn't a surprise. Strength 5, which obviously instantly is slightly worrying, but they did say that he's got several ways to buff the strength with ability, so he's probably got at least, I'd imagine he's got at least +2 to strength for his staff or whatever. He's got to be at least strength 7, hasn't he? I reckon he'll be strength 7, maybe have something else for a certain attack that will be strength 8. He's toughness 7, which whilst we sort of was hoping toughness 8, I think toughness 7 was always going to be his toughness. At least it's not 6. But of course, the key thing is how many wounds he's got, which is 16. But of course, we've got those 2 shield things, which I assume is what these are here. The triarchal menhir. So yeah, 16 wounds. Then he's got 6 attacks, which hopefully will also be buffed as well with certain weapons. Leadership 10 and a 3+ save. Again, we don't know what else the other stats will say, but one would assume that he's going to have an invulnerable save as well. 2+ save would have been nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, 3+ save, and I no doubt he's got a 4+ invulnerable save, or at least a 5+ invulnerable save, but I would have thought a 4+. Obviously, he degrades as he takes wounds. And it's quite interesting, I noticed on some of the other data cards that we saw for Space Marines, it's no longer half strength before you start taking wounds. It's now, I say 16 wounds, and then when it goes down to 9 wounds, so it's slightly less than half. But it basically degrades on movement, and he degrades on attacks. I like the way they've done this, where they've made the degrading stats red. Rather than having to hunt everywhere. So yeah, he's 6 inches when he goes to 5 to 8 wounds with 4 attacks, and then 1 to 4 wounds, 4 inches with 2 attacks. But of course he's got those menhirs, which I assume both of them are going to add wounds. So they've got 5 wounds each. So you're looking at 26 wounds in total. And their weapon skill's only 6 but then obviously they're pieces of stone. They're not really going to be very good in assault, but they've got like nice 2+ ballistic skill, again strength 5, and toughness 7. So yeah, it all looks very good. I don't think it's too disappointing really there. So I'm quite happy with that. Bearing in mind that we've got more rules that go along with him. What does everybody think of him? Let's have a look in the chat. Wouldn't it be cool to have a named destroyer hero? Oh, we're talking about destroyers. What do you think of the Silent King's stats? Let me know. Let me know. He looks okay, says Richard. He looks badass, says Jambo Winnifel. I want old named resin characters remade to plastic. Yeah, hopefully that will happen. He'll be expensive. Oh, absolutely, no doubt. I mean, look at that miniature. I think you're looking at, well, a ballpark figure, but it's going to be about £100, this miniature, isn't it? Probably £95. Almost definitely. The stats are okay, but I hope the rules are ridiculously good. Yeah, exactly. We've only just got the basic stats there, which they're fine. It's the rules that go with it, which is going to make a difference. You know, we don't know. I mean, even his save, it says a 3+ save there. There might be a special rule which gives us a 2+ save. You know, so, or a special rule that changes that 3+ into an invulnerable save. So we don't know all of the rules, but overall, I think nothing there too surprising. Maybe the strength, but they've already said that's buffed with weapons. So yeah, nothing too surprising. What do we think of that toughness 7? Were we expecting toughness 8? I don't think we were, to be fair, were we? If you consider that most Necron things are toughness 6. What Silent King's points on the table? We do not know the points. That has not been revealed yet. What do we think of the points? I think it's a tough one to know how many points it's going to be. He's going to be a good 400 and something points, I reckon. Craig Hoyland says 550. Yeah. You're probably right. He's probably going to be nearer 500-ish points. Richard thinks 375. We are talking about Necrons here. You know, quite expensive points. 500+ points. 450. 600 points is Serpent. Yeah, he's going to be a good amount of points. It's going to be, you're going to be looking, I reckon, around between 400 and 550, maybe 600-ish. Okay, that's in between. Let's go in between. We think it's going to be about 500 points. Okay. Right, let's read on. That's a pretty hefty stat line and no mistake. What's more, it's backed up with a whole swath of special rules, including aura abilities to buff your troops, excellent, and hamper opponents' units. I'm liking this introduction of hampering your opponent's units, having an effect on your opponents. That Chronomancer rule, that was awesome, and if he can do similar things, I'm liking that. You know, something to counter what your opponent can do. They can also help you destroy your enemies in a variety of ways. Improve the Silent King's durability, and generally make him perhaps the most formidable character in all of Warhammer 40,000. Absolutely. And if Necron Girl was here, I'd make her say, Necrons! All Catan should have living metal and 10 wounds. Well, they did say that pretty much every unit is being redone. So who knows what the new Catans are going to have. That would That's something to come for sure. We will, however, treat you to one full data sheet. That's nice. But before we do, let's take a look at the models first. Meet the Obsidian Destroyers, which I've instantly renamed Wraith Destroyers. And here they are. Now, I've had mixed comments on these. Obviously, I've got a lot of old school Necron Wraiths, the metal ones from 3rd edition. Still use them today. I don't actually own any of the new Wraiths. And yeah, we seem to have some old school influence here. I've heard people say it's just laziness, that they can't come up with new ideas. I've had people say, well done Games Workshop, you know, keeping the theme of the old models, making them newer. And yeah, I have to say the body reminds me of a third party body that I can't remember the company, but there was a company making third party Wraiths, and they had very similar bodies to that. They do really look like the old metal Wraiths, but with those destroyer arms added. So yeah, 4 arms. Wraith Destroyers. Yeah, I'm just going to call them Wraith Destroyers. Because imagine also you're playing against someone and they say, I'm going to shoot your destroyers. It's like, which one? The Cryptek Destroyer, I can't even remember the name, what's he called? The Obsidian Destroyer. You know, we've got so many destroyers now. The Lockhurst Destroyer. So I'm just going to say the Wraith Destroyers, the Hover Destroyers. I think Cryptek Destroyers will be fine because everyone knows them now. Okay, let's have a look at some of let's skip this one a moment. Here we go. So there's another picture there. So interesting, only 2 claws though. Whereas obviously Wraiths have 3. So maybe they thought, oh, let's make them like Wraith, but only give them 2 claws. I think it's very cool. It's very surprising to have this new unit, and one has to ask, why have we got this new unit? They did say in the stream that these are not replacing Wraiths. So we are going to have Wraiths, and we're going to have these Wraith Destroyers. So they're going to run side by side. I'm very interested to see what the new Wraith unit is going to have, you know, rules wise, because obviously they could potentially be competing. But what's great about these is, so turn the camera around. What's great about these is that we are now definitely looking like we can field a whole A, destroyer army, and B, a close combat army. It seems like close combat Necrons is definitely going to be a thing. And I think for 9th edition, well, it seems like that's definitely a plus point. I'm liking them. Now, when I first saw these new Wraith Destroyers, obviously my instant thought is, I could easily convert my current Wraiths into these. But then if I want to play Wraiths, then I wouldn't have any Wraith models. I've got quite a lot of Wraiths, to be fair. I've got 18. So that is quite a lot, but I like my classic Wraiths. So I'll probably just buy the new models and just use them. But potentially all you'd have to do is put those weapons onto the old Wraiths, give them 4 arms, and job done. You're ready to go. Maybe put it on a base, because obviously the base is a bit bigger. Necrons are losing their sanity and consciousness, becoming destroyers more easily. The Silent King is back and trying to keep the Necrons from going crazy. Just magnetize extra arms onto your... That's a good idea. Yeah, I could magnetize them. But then it's brand new models, and I'm a Necron channel, so maybe I should just have the new models. Wraiths will lose the 3+ invulnerable save. But if they do, what are they going to have instead? Why would you take Wraiths over these? Are we thinking basically they're just trying to get you to buy new models? and not use your Wraiths? Quite possibly. Now, there's another interesting thing here, and that is this guy. The plasma site, which, as we read on in a minute, it says that this is a multi-part kit, and it's the only time they mention multi-part kit. But I'm assuming these other new models are all multi-part. What was quite interesting in the Space Marine reveals, they got a lot of the Indomitus units, but multi-parted, and we didn't get that. But obviously, we got the new units instead. But yeah, very cool to have a multi-part one of these. I've got a plasma site conversion video coming actually tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So you'll see me convert the Indomitus sets one. But yeah, very cool. That's in there. There was no glimpse of any of the rules, but I noticed on the Facebook post, the Warhammer team on there said that he would have his own data card. So rather than being attached to the Scorpex, like in the Indomitus sets, that this guy's going to have his own little data card. So that was quite interesting. Also, I think now is the time I think they should explore and develop the Catan lore and models more. I think they probably will. I think that's next on the cards. Okay, so what do we think of these then? Are we going thumbs up or thumbs down? I think from the point of view that we've got a new Necron model, it's definitely a thumbs up. Do I like them? I don't dislike them. And I like Wraiths, and they're very Wraith orientated. So yeah, I mean, if I can field my Wraiths, these guys, the Scorpek destroyers and Flayed ones, we'll talk more about them in a minute, in an all assault army, I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, vote now. Do you like them or not? Yes or no is the vote. We've got a thumbs down from Calm Plains, thumbs up from Thomas Warburg, yes from Drew Tavian, yes from Jambo. We've got quite a few yeses. There are a couple of thumbs down, but most people seem to like them. I Nick just finished looking at the new previews. Want to see you had the video. Oh, sorry, your comments scrolled with so many comments. Okay, most people like them. Okay, so I'm going to give them a thumbs up as well. Let me make sure you can see that. Thumbs up for the now renamed Wraith Destroyers. I'm calling them Wraith Destroyers from now on. So, yeah. Okay. This terrifying breed of burrowing destroyers comes complete with the multi-part plasma site in the kit. Well, we say burrowing, but rather than tunneling underground in the traditional sense, Raveners, we're looking at you, these murderous machines tear their way through the veil of reality from their own pocket dimension to slice and dice their prey. Check out the datasheet to see how they shape up. What is the most dumb thing to me is that our death marks get upgraded and are in a few more Space Marines get heavy infantry. Yeah, we'll talk about the Space Marine stuff in a minute. Okay, so power rating 5. So that's quite interesting, the power rating. I mean, let's have a quick look. So you're looking at the same price as an Overlord for these guys. Okay, unit size 3 to 6, which is very nice to see. And hopefully that means that our Scorpek destroyers will be 3 to 6, because we need 6 of them in a unit. Movement 10 inches, pretty standard for destroyers. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 4. They did say that these guys are basically going to be a bit more fragile. So maybe that's where Wraiths are going to come in. Maybe Wraiths are going to be the tougher option. 3 wounds each, 3 attacks each, a leadership of 10, and then a 4+ save. So they're definitely more fragile. If this unit contains 4 or more models, it has a power rating of 10. Every 3 models in the unit, 1 model is equipped with 2 hyperphased reap blades. Obsidian claws. Every other model is equipped with hyperphased threshers and obsidian claws. Okay, so this is probably confirmation that our Cryptek destroyers are going to be the same. So if you do take 6, you're going to have 2 of the reap blades. So as you know, in my previous video I've just made, the Cryptek destroyers, I magnetized one of them in hope that we'd get different weapon options, but obviously I don't think we are. So yeah, well, still it was worth doing just in case. So that's quite interesting. Effectively very similar weapons to the Crypteks. I don't like the sound of them being fragile. Well, maybe they've got a different role to play. Let's continue reading. So the hyperphase reap blades give you +2 to strength. So we're now at strength 6, which is quite nice. -4 AP and 3 damage. Straight 3 damage. Very nice. The hyperphase threshers are used to strength, so just strength 4. -3 with 2 damage, but each time the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon. So if you attacked with all of your attacks there, so you'd have 4 attacks with that weapon. And then you've got your obsidian claws, which are strength 4, -1 AP, but each time the bearer fights, it makes 2 additional attacks with this weapon. So basically, if you had a 1 wounded miniatures that you were up against, you could put all of your attacks on the claws, and that of course would give you how many attacks? So you got 3 attacks, and then you got 9 attacks. Is that right? My maths. You could obviously split your attacks as well, so you could put 1 attack on the claw, and that would give you your 3 attacks, and then you could use your other 2 attacks on the hyperphase threshers, and then you get +1 attack to that. So you've got quite a few options, a good amount of attacks, plus the abilities. So they have living metal, reanimation protocol, command protocols. I can't wait to find out what this reanimation protocol is going to be like. Even living metal, we don't know that, because they're obviously keeping it under their hat for now. I think over the next couple of weeks we're going to get some reveals on the community posts. But yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be one of the biggest rules that's going to make or break this codex, I think. Hardwire for destruction. So each time a model in this unit makes an attack, re-roll the hits of a 1. Very nice. Re-rolling the 1s, it's always handy. Excuse me. The hyperphase reap blades. Each time a model attacks in this unit, makes an attack with a hyperphase reap blade, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. That's awesome. So a 6, we get an extra hit, and then where you can re-roll your 1s, you've got another chance of getting a 6. So these guys are going to have quite a few attacks. Whip coil bodies. Each time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. That is awesome. So when you're being hit back, your opponent's at -1. It's only in close combat, but very, very useful. Tunneling horrors. During deployments, you can set up this unit underground instead of setting up on the battlefield. If you do, then during the reinforcement step of one of your movement phase, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield. It's more than 9 inches away from your enemy models, so we can get straight in there. Reserve them, come in at 9 inches away, and if you roll well, you can assault. That's the only issue with this. It sounds great. It's like, oh, they're fragile, so that's okay. We'll just deep strike them in, get straight into the assault, kill something, and then we'll die after. But if you don't make that assault, it's going to be standing there like a lemon and be shot up. So that's the only issue with deep striking them in. And potentially with some of the other rules which are coming up in a minute, we might not actually be wise to deep strike them in. I mean, it's nice to have the option. But I find that problem with the flayed ones. You know, you take your flayed ones, you deep strike them in, you fail your charge range, and then you just get blasted to bits. However, all in all, a very interesting unit. And I suppose they can't make them too tough and too difficult to kill, because that's what Wraiths do. And if they did that with these, then literally they might as well have just like replaced the Wraiths with these. So yeah, a nice tactical change. You've got more fragile units, but when they can get in, can do quite a lot of damage, and not too bad in points. Only 6. Yeah, 6 is the maximum. Do you think these are worthwhile running units of 3 or 6? I'm usually on the camp of always run your units in maximum sizes that you can afford in points wise. Personally, especially if they've got reanimation protocol, because you know you want to have your reanimation protocols happening. Obviously, we don't know what the new rule is. You might be able to ream even if the unit's sort of wiped out, but yeah. And then we just got the faction keywords: Necrons, Dynasty, Infantry, Destroyer Cult, Obsidian Destroyers. Okay, let's have a quick look at the chat before we move on to, I think, what a lot of people are most excited about, the flayed ones. Blue Demonica says, always to the max if possible. Yes, always to the max, although potentially if you're up against, let's turn the camera around, potentially if you're up against an army that has a lot of blast weapons, you might want to drop that 6 down to 5s just to help out a little bit. Nick Main says, let's face it, nothing compares to the old destroyers. The old destroyers are awesome, aren't they? It's going to be very interesting to see how they've revamped their rules. They may have overpowered weaponry. We can drown them in metal. Destroy cult keyword sounds interesting. It sounds very interesting, and yeah, it's the new thing. So it's whether or not we're going to have some extra special rules for that. Hopefully we will. All destroyers are now lockhouse destroyers, I think. Yes, that is correct. Being majority of strength 4 on their weapons is a big problem. Yeah, well, I don't know, is it a problem? You've got a good amount of attacks there. Beside Destroyer Cult, we will get any other cults. Don't think we will. Obviously, you might have to take these in a certain dynasty to make the most of them. And there's always stratagems as well, remember? So we could have a specific stratagem for them. We've got the extermination protocols. Maybe they'll have something very similar to that. Reroll all fouled hits and wounds. So we don't know what's coming. It's very interesting. Okay, so let's turn the camera around and move on. Okay, now first, before I go on to this, just in case you don't know, I have 60 flayed ones already, metal flayed ones, and I challenged myself back in, I believe it was 5th edition. I think it was 5th edition, when flayed ones were really bad, and I thought to myself, I like flayed ones, I like the models, I am going to make a flayed one themed army. So I went onto eBay, over a period of about 6 months, I bought as many metal flayed ones as I could. I had to convert quite a few of them where they had the claws broken, and yeah, I've got 60 flayed ones, and I've played a themed army around 60 flayed ones for many editions. So of course, Games Workshop at one point made flayed ones really good, where they had a 4+ reanimation protocol roll, which was awesome in the Decurion. But then they sort of dropped off, and the point went up in price, and they were priced out, and I just couldn't get 60 flayed ones in there. I didn't play my 60 flayed one list in 8th edition. I made a list, but I didn't end up playing it. So I'm very interested with this article. I think I just had a question. Let's have a look. Converting 20 Indomitus warriors to flayed ones. Need some tips. Okay, so cut off their hands. Find something to put on there instead. There's a bit clawy. And then use some green stuff. Easy. Okay, here we go. Cool, huh? What's more, they're not the only new Necrons unit on the way. Take a look at the new flayed ones, reimagined in glorious plastic. Okay, so let's give Games Workshop a round of applause for this. Finecast to plastic is exactly what we need on every single Finecast miniature. So we've got some new plastic flayed ones. Now, you can say all you like about the Finecast material. Putting the material aside, I really didn't like the actual sculpts of the previous flayed ones. I thought they were dreadful, and I liked my old metal ones much better. These are definitely a lot better. These are very cool. The legs here, they remind me of the Murder Bucket legs. I think they're almost the same. Let me get the Murder Bucket. Here we go. Look at that, very similar. Yeah, quite similar. However, yeah, I mean, no one can moan at these. These are awesome. These actually look more like the original flayed ones, and I'm very happy with them. I still think I like my metal ones better. Maybe that's just because I've got 60 of them. And whilst just a minute ago I said, I'm a Necron channel, I'm going to have to get all the new miniatures. I'm sorry, Games Workshop, I think this is just too little, too late. I've got 60 metal flayed ones. I don't really need any more. So I don't think I'm going to buy these. Whilst I think they're fantastic and it's great to see, and I'm very pleased for everyone who's been longing for these. This is very much needed, but I don't think I'm going to buy them myself. We'll see. We'll see. I might change my mind. But yeah, like I said, I've got 60 metal ones. The only thing with the metal ones is they're more difficult to play on the table, especially when you're playing, say, a unit of 20. You know, with the metal ones, you've got to pick each one up individually. With the plastic ones, you can almost like bunch them together and just pick them up, and you don't damage any paint. You know, paint doesn't chip off. Just get one unit of them, Nick. Yeah, but one's never enough, is it? So yeah, awesome. Thanks, Games Workshop. Well done. They did say actually about how it's fun to paint the flayed ones in your opponent's army colours. I did that years ago. So my flayed ones, actually, the way I distinguished the 3 units, 3 units of 20, is by the skin colour. So I've got one which has got Blood Angel's skin on. I've got one that's got Orc skin, and then I've got one that's got Tau skin, because I had a Tau body, excuse me, had a Tau player friend who sadly's passed away now, but yeah, so one's draped in blue skin, and then the Orc one's draped in green skin, and the Blood Angels one's draped in like sort of human coloured skin. So yeah, I did that years ago, Games Workshop. Going for a box of 12 for Horde fun. I hope they are troops. Yeah, now if we want a full assault army, we need assault troops. Flayed ones are the perfect unit to put in as an assault unit. I think we need it. I think everyone's got their fingers crossed. I mean, I've been asking for Flayed ones to be troops for years, for years, and it's just never happened. But hopefully this time it will. Especially if they do want us to have an assault themed list. Flayed ones would be perfect for that. Obviously, you don't have to take the battalion with the troops in, but I've had a few games recently. Well, actually, no, I've had one game recently on Friday, and I actually played Flayed ones. It was only 500 points, but I played 18 Flayed ones with Imitate the Stormlord in that list. And there's two things that I noticed. Let's turn this around. The first thing I noticed were Flayed ones are awesome. Obviously, it was only 500 points. We're on a small table, so it's easy to get across the table, get into the assault, and they shredded the Blood Angels, shredded them. And I was using the stratagem that gives them +1 to strength, which was really useful. I did have Imitate the Stormlord there to buff them. However, because of the mission, he was off getting an objective, and the Flayed ones were just playing it solo. However, they did rip through the Blood Angels, and that was great to see. And I'm thinking, and that was without being in the Novok Dynasty. So I think Flayed ones are going to be brutal, especially we know there's another rule coming up in a minute, which we're just going to have a look at. But yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. The second thing that I noticed was that I was really lacking in troops in that game. So my buddy had pretty much mainly troops, and he was able to outscore me quite easily. If the Flayed ones were troops, that would have really helped as well. It means you can charge them forward, assault someone on an objective, and surround the objective and grab it. So yeah, I really do hope that they are troops. And in case you're wondering, my plan was actually to record a battle report. We were going to have 2 games of 500 points. We played the first one. My buddy had to bring his children round, which was fine. There's no trouble, except it was quite noisy. So I decided that I wouldn't record the first game. I'd record the second game because he could take his children home after the first game. So we played the first game. It was very quick, over in 2 turns. Basically, yeah, my Flayed one's just like Blood Angel's dead. That's it. So it was a very quick game. And then he took his children home, but when he got home, his wife was ill, so he couldn't come back to play the second game. So there was no battle report, unfortunately. But Richard and I are planning to play a 500-point game on Wednesday, along with a 2,000-point game, so we should have some battle reports coming for you. Let's check the chat. When's the Indomitus game? When all of the models over here are all painted. What dynasty is Flayed one's best for? Well, at the moment, it's Novok. We'll have to see what the Novok dynasty rules are, though we've had a bit of a glimpse. They don't seem to be as good as the current Novok rules are. Okay, let's turn around and read some of the rules for these Flayed ones. With the revised datasheet for the new edition, the Flayed ones' long flayer claws, that's what they're called now apparently, long flayer claws, can shred armor with even greater ease, as they now strike at an AP of -1. Awesome. And as one would expect for a unit whose rather gruesome modus operandi sees them cover their metallic bodies in a macabre second skin made from the cleansed flesh of their victims, they're at their best when killing squishy stuff. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against an enemy non-vehicle unit, an unmodified hit roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. That's awesome. if they get to the amount of attacks that they usually have, and some sort of reroll buffing that we can do, and then any 6s you get 1 extra hit. That's awesome. It does make me reflect a little bit on Tesla. We still haven't had any rules on Tesla guns, but we've had a lot of rules where 6s give you an extra 1 hit. So will Tesla be the same? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. Okay, so let's read on. Still loads of stuff left. It's about time we showed you the aforementioned Chronomancer, if you'll forgive us for the dodgy pun. Okay, so this is the new Chronomancer, and he's very different, isn't he? They're definitely trying to bring some flavour to these miniatures, that's for sure. So he's got these Rubik's Cubes, as the community team called them. This one actually looks like he's floating, which is very clever. I assume his thumb is attached to it. It does remind me a little bit of the, can't remember what it's called, but in Star Wars, where they've got that red orb thing, that box thing, obsidian, can't remember what it's called. But yeah, it reminds me of that. And then he's got those Rubik Cubes on his top there and a ball by his staff. He's very cool, isn't he? He is very cool. He's very different. My thoughts always when I see a miniature is, how is it going to look when I paint it? You know, how am I going to paint it? Obviously, they've gone for blue there, but it's not Blackstone. Well, it doesn't. I don't think it's Blackstone. So I'll probably paint mine green. But then I'm thinking, they painted there's red there, but I'll probably just go for green. I'll probably just keep green on everything. Really can't wait for that battle report. I really mean it. Cool. Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun, hopefully. And it will be a longer battle report. I'm not going to record every single dice roll, but I'll probably record the dice rolls for the first, at least the first turn. It replaces the tentacles with tripod legs for sure. Black, green, and white. Paint it purple. Could paint it purple. So yeah, that's that guy, and very interesting. This bottom piece reminds me of one of the Wargames exclusives, Necron miniatures, with the tentacles coming down. Chronomancers are masters of time and temporal manipulation. One of their favoured party tricks, what is a battle if not a glorified party, is to utilise the Chronometron they each bear to slow the incoming fire of their enemies, allowing their warriors to effortlessly avoid harm. In your command phase, you can select one friendly Dynasty unit within 9 inches of this model, and to the start of your next command phase, you can re-roll charge rolls made for that unit, and models in the unit have a 5+ invulnerable save. How nice is that? That looks very nice. All I need to know now is, how far is this guy going to move? How many inches can he move? Because you are probably going to want to put these with your Wraith destroyers, who obviously can move 10 inches. This guy would be very nice if he could keep up with them. But also Flayed ones, of course. Another option. If he's a bit slower moving, he'll be great with Flayed ones. But I'm really liking that. It would obviously, you could potentially move them into position and then deep strike your Flayed ones, but you've got to use this in your command phase, so that wouldn't help. So you can't sort of get him in position, bring your Flayed ones, and then give him the ability, because they're out of sync. So you've got to have it on the table to operate this, which is, I suppose, where the 5+ invulnerable save comes in. Although 5+ invulnerable save sounds really good, but in reality it's not that amazing. It's good, but 5s, you know, we can all, there's only a 33% chance, isn't it, of actually saving it. The current Chronometron is worse in some ways. I think I'd prefer a blanket save for the whole army in a bubble. So I play Space Marines and Crons and a few others. The Space Marine stuff is nuts, overpowered. Yeah, we'll talk about the Space Marines in a minute. So at least we get to that, and unlike potentially the Plasmancer, that's quite useful. You know, I'll take that. That's quite a useful thing to have. See you more games. See you later, Richard. Yeah, I'll see you on Wednesday for our game. Looking forward to it. And whilst we're on the topic of Cryptex, here's the incredible new Psychomancer Miniature 2. The Psychomancer. What the hell is going on with this miniature? I think I saw a comment on the Facebook post which sums it up. It's like, Games Workshop, this is the most ridiculous incarnation of a miniature you've ever seen, but I love it. And that sums it up. It's like, you look at it and think, what the hell is going on? But wow, that is cool. You can't see it in this picture, unfortunately, but this here, which I think they said is the, what did they say? Is the digital power from a Catan or something like that. But when he spins around, it's a face. Let's have a quick look if we can find it. Go back up, all the way up. This one here, I think it is. Here we go. Let's just skip.
My lord, I'm...
Turn the sound off. Right. Let's just find it. Scorpec destroyers. No, not Scorpec. Better picture. Come on. Here we go. Look at that. That is very, very cool. I mean, you've got to love that miniature just for that. And then again, I'm thinking, how am I going to paint that? I'm probably going to paint it green. Because obviously my army is basically silver with green highlights. So I don't want to introduce too many different colours. But yeah, very, very cool. Very different. Very different, but very cool. Let's have a look in the comments box. Do you like him? Do you like him? We've got Nagashazar who says, love it. Grim Vision says, kick ass design. It's freaky and I like it. I use mine in Tron Virus Crons. Love him. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of love for this. Good model. What about the rules? Nick Main says, fantastic. I wouldn't use it in a game, but it's cool. I like it. Love it, especially the digital skull. Not liking how the fragile it looks. It probably isn't going to be that fragile, to be fair. I think the thing is with these miniatures, it's like you've got to be careful with them, regardless whether they're fragile or not. If you're not careful with them, they will break. Games Workshop better come out with a special carrying case for us Necron players with all these fiddly bits. Laugh out loud. Well, I think the obvious answer, which I think most people are doing these days, is boxes with magnets on the bases and a magnet sheet. Pop them on, and the models don't have to touch anything. That's in my future. I'm thinking of getting all of my models out of the cases and into these boxes with magnets on the base. It's really interesting. I really mean it. My plastic grots say otherwise. They've fallen off tables more times than count and always fine. Yeah. Most miniatures do, don't they? But obviously these fragile ones do still need to be more careful with. So they say Space Marines no fear, but they've yet to meet this dread form of Cryptek. These Necrons' techno-arcane mastery is over fear itself by challenging the same dread power for which the Nightbringer was so greatly feared. It can cause even the most stoic foes to flee in terror before it. Nightmare Shroud, Aura. Whilst an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of this model in that unit and subtract 1 from combat attrition test taken for that unit. Yeah, well, it's rubbish, isn't it? However, that's just one of his abilities. He's going to have more. So they've just shown us that one. I suppose under certain circumstances it could be useful, but just look at all of the other HQs that we've got and the other Cryptek abilities, and you have to just say that this one is not good. I mean, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Sounds weak. I don't like the fear rule. I like the fear aura as a 5-point add-on, as a soul model with just that garbage tier. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's going to have a lot more rules than this. This is just what they've shown us. All that and more is on the way for Necrons, and that's only the first topic of the day. So that's the end of the Necrons, but it does say that there's still more on the way, which we know there's going to be. Lots of revamps for the miniatures. So I read all of this on the Saturday night, and I was very, very happy with everything. And then on this morning, got up early, had another look, and I read the Space Marine stuff. I didn't read it, but I watched the preview video on it. And I must admit, each time I saw a Space Marine thing, I got a bit disheartened. It's like, really? They got that? Like their Melter? The Melter looks so strong. However, if our quantum shielding stays the same, or possibly even better, then it could be quite useful, because obviously now at half range, Melter is D6 plus 2, so it's going to be a minimum of 3 damage, potentially 8 damage on a Melter gun. We need quantum shielding. And the Space Marines have tons of great rules too. Yeah. So I must admit, I didn't read, like I said, I listened to the Space Marines, and it's like, you know, our rules were very exciting, and I really thought I enjoyed them. And I thought, yeah, this is really good. Can't wait for the Codex. But there is a little niggling thing inside that's saying, yeah, well, Necrons are getting some good stuff, but the Marines are going to be getting probably even better stuff, or good stuff on top of what they already have. So we're not necessarily going up the scale. We're just sort of, you know, Necrons here, Space Marines there. We're going to go up, but then Space Marines going to go up. But we don't know. We have to wait for the whole Codex, and then we will find out. That is it. That is all of the new Necron stuff. And yeah, it's fantastic, you know, to have so many new Necrons. And I wasn't expecting those new miniatures there to come out. I mean, new Flayed ones was always on the cards because of the fine cast stuff. But yeah, those new Wraith destroyers, I was not expecting those. That is awesome. So let's have a quick look at the chat. Ed says, I was agreeing with Josh. Great stat lines and a big toolbox. Space Marines have got a ton. Necron would need a silly good Codex to compete. Thanks, Nick. Great stream. You're welcome. I'm going to stay on just for a little bit longer just to answer any questions. So if you do have any questions, then let me know. I'm going to move the camera here. If I can. Let's have a look. Here we go. So this is my second screen that I'm looking at. This way I can look at the screen and hopefully you can see me rather than like a side angle. It's so professional. There we go. Right. There we go. Here we go. Right. Jake S says, I heard that the new Codex comes with rules that lets you make your own dynastic code. Yeah, I that's interesting. I did read that also, that there's rules in there for dynastic codes, but I think I must have skipped it as we were reading that. which obviously explains why it wasn't in chapter approved. Blue Demonica says, keeping my eye peeled for the destroy cult keyword. If it reveals more Necron stuff, I think they will reveal more Necron stuff, and it's going to be on the community page, and I'd imagine they'll do it over the next few weeks. Really, it depends when it comes out in October. If it's late October, then we might see it during October. If it's early October, then it could be over the next couple of weeks. Do you think the king will be something else than a nice... Oh, I missed it. How do I scroll this thing? This is my daughter's laptop. That's why I'm signed in under Necron Girl. Sorry, I missed it. Here we go. Do you think the Signing King will fill the Lords of War slot in the Codex? No, I think they actually said he was a HQ. I believe they said that. I think it was in the stream. Games Workshop. Whoop. I'd like to see even more Destroyer Cult stuff. I need that Destroyer only army. Yeah, I would love to have that Destroyer only army. I think he said HQ equivalent. Okay. Yeah, well, he may have done. I'm not 100% sure. I think the Silent King will change to Lord of War, just guessing. I mean, it would make sense, Lord of War. But like I said, I thought they said something about HQ. The Silent King is that. He seems pretty overpowered. I think it's going to be, well, they pretty much said that he should be overpowered. He is the Necron Silent King. He's like the biggest, baddest person, robot, in the Warhammer 40k universe. Do you think the new Obsidian Destroyers might be a second build for the Cryptek Destroyer kit? I don't think they will. I think there will be a separate kit. We need overpowered. They did say the Silent King is going to be one of, if not the strongest units in 40k. We need a destroyer type troop like Necron warriors that hover. Oh, I did see a very cool conversion. I cannot remember the name, so apologies. But there's a guy on Instagram who's making a whole army of like bug hover type things, and he's got his warriors all with like insectoid floating bodies. They look really, really cool. Do you think the old destroyers will stay? Well, I think the old destroyer unit's got a new name now, hasn't it? The Lockhust. So they'll be the models now. You'll still be able to use those old models, but I don't think it would just be destroyers. It's Lockhust destroyers, Cryptek destroyers. They'll be put into Legend. I said twice already, but you weren't looking. Remember when the Crypteks had normal legs? Those were some good models. Lockhurst Heavy Destroyer rules are out. Not sure if we're getting Lockhurst Light Destroyers though. I've got a feeling that the Lockhurst Destroyers, you're going to have basically like we've got at the moment. There's going to be the Heavy Destroyer version and the normal Destroyer version. They better not put my old destroyers in Legends. Paid way too much for them recently. Great chat, Nick. Good night, everyone. Good night, Nick. Yeah, thank you for joining. Appreciate that. The old destroyers are really lovely models. Lockhurst just... Oh, missed it. Are you thinking of the War Singer on Facebook? No. This guy's on Instagram. He's definitely not the War Singer. What do you think the fourth Cryptek speciality will be? Just trying to think back to the old. It was a Lancemancer we had before, didn't we? Lancemancer, I think he was called. Basically like a shooting Cryptek, and he had a 36-inch gun. Ooh, messing around with the camera. A few Necron players are afraid that the regular destroyers will be phased out. I don't think they will. I think they're just being replaced with these Lockhurst ones, personally. Warsinger is outstanding on his custom models. He certainly is. Yeah, they are amazing. They are amazing. Okay, let's have a look. So we've been going for just over, well, an hour and 35 minutes. We still have 105 people watching. Wow, thank you. I didn't actually look to see what the biggest count of people watching. Did anyone notice how many people we had watching at any point? 86 likes. Thank you everyone for liking, and not a single dislike. I did have a dislike on there before the stream started, but then it disappeared. It's still hard to evaluate any of this without knowing how the new RP work. Absolutely, and also living metal. Fun stream, Nick. Have a good night. Thank you, Blue Demonica. Appreciate you coming in. Nice to see you. What is your favourite new model that has come out so far? Ooh. It is hard because we haven't seen them all, have we yet? I do like the new Catan. He looks awesome. I'm going to say the Catan. I suspect that what RP is going to be nerfed into. I honestly think everything should have a 6++ and a 6+++ that can't be buffed. Scorpec Destroyers for me. Yeah, the Scorpec Destroyers, they are nice, but they're not my favourite. FX. No, I'm not. Technomancer, Plasmancer, Chronomancer, Fearomancer. Forgot its name. Wasn't there a Lancemancer? No, that was just his weapon, wasn't it? Oh, that's right. His weapon was called a Lance, and then we just renamed him the Lance Tech. That wasn't his real name. So is the Doomstalker going to be an alternate build for the Cryptek Reanimator, or are they getting their own kit? So there's a bit of controversy here. A lot of people are saying that the Doomstalker is a bigger model than the Reanimator. That's what a lot of people are saying. However, I'm pretty sure that it's not. And I reckon we're going to get a dual kit that can make the Reanimator and Stalker one or the other. I mean, that would make total sense. But obviously, if they are different sizes, then that's not going to happen. My favourites are the new Necron King and Luminal Xeris. Yeah, of course, the Silent King, I suppose. He's got to be up there because he does look very cool. That's for sure. After Dominus, what Necron units should I get? If you can hold off for a couple more weeks till we get the Codex, we'll be able to tell you exactly. But for now, I think Immortals are going to be a safe bet. And they're going to be Toughness 5. And their Gauss guns are going to be pretty good. So Immortals, you can't really go wrong with them. You're probably going to need some Crypteks as well. Probably get a Cloak Tech. I reckon Nemesis Zerek will allow you to reorder which Dynasty codes happen on which turn. That'd be interesting if you can do that. The Death Marks get some good stuff too. Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, it just seems that each unit's going to be revamped. We're going to get some extra stuff for each one. Just sort of bring them up to date, and then bring them up to date with the current Space Marine Codex. And then the Space Marine Codex will just get all new stuff. Those Walker models are awful. I don't know. I quite like them. They're smaller than I thought they were, but I quite like them. Immortals already get 2 wounds. Do they? How? Model is great, but shots off the board right away. You've got to hide it, haven't you? Hide it behind a piece of terrain. Has any of the new models given you conversion ideas? I wouldn't convert like the new Crypteks and stuff, especially if they're just. I'm just going to have one of them as well. If I have more than one, I probably would convert them. Was not the data sheet toughness 5 and 2 wounds? No, I believe it was just toughness 5, but there was no 2 wounds. I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's only 1 wound still. Secret release around Christmas will be the limited edition Overlord IDICBeer. How do you know the data sheet was toughness 5 and 1 wound? I would love to give the Chronomancer 3 legs. Oh no, 2 attacks, my bad. That's okay. Yeah, 2 attacks. Yeah, that's it. Cool. Okay, well, I think we are probably going to come to the end of the stream. I've had a very busy weekend. Like I said, I went to London for the weekend. Today I've been driving around London. Well, I haven't. I've been in the back of the car. And then my girlfriend drove back home, and then I drove from her house to here. Literally got in about half an hour or so before the stream. So, yeah, getting quite tired, and I've got work next week. I've only got 1 day off next week, and on that day off, I'm playing Richard. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a good week. So yeah, just to say thank you everyone for popping in. I hope you enjoyed the chat. I really appreciate it. And yeah, nothing left to say except beam me up.